Welcome to Podnutz Daily for May. I just looked at the date and I forgot it. It's May 18th, 2009, episode number 171. Thank you, everybody, for joining us live. If you're watching us live, we are on Ustream, as usual. And I usually send out a Twitter before we do the live show, just to let everybody know we're doing it live. We'll go over some computer repair stuff here. There's some stuff that happened in the shop and out of the shop because I worked my butt off all weekend. And I was in and out and all over the place. And man, I hate working on the weekends. Had a gaming machine. I guess you could call it a game machine. It's pretty heavy duty machine that a customer brought in. And I talked about it last week, but I'm going to tell you what the resolution was on this one because I don't think I did. It would turn on. It would power on for like 5 seconds. No video. Nothing. The fans would spin. Power lights would power on, the power LEDs would power on, and then it would turn off after about 5 seconds. So we basically methodically went through each part. Power supply, we checked. Because a lot of times, that could be a power supply issue, actually, where the computer's shutting down. We checked the RAM. We disconnected the hard drives and the CD drives and saw if this problem still happened. It did. And everything else we tried. We pulled all the PCI cards out of the computer just to make sure they weren't shorting anything out. Or the video card, we tried replacing the video card. We actually replaced the RAM. We replaced the video card. We replaced the power supply with just different test supplies that we had at the shop. Still do it. Power on for 5 seconds, turn off. We replaced the processor. It was an AMD, so it was an AM2 socket processor. He had like a, like an Athlon, but we replaced it with a Sempron just to test it. Did the same thing. Powered on for 5 seconds, shut down. So that's the only thing left is a motherboard. So we told him his motherboard was bad. We wanted to see if we wanted us to get him a new one. He said his is still under warranty from ASUS. Apparently, ASUS has pretty good warranties. I think they're like, I think this was like 3 years he got on this. Either he bought an extended or I don't know. But he had 3 years on this warranty because it wasn't a brand new computer. He sent it back, so we waited a couple weeks for him to get his motherboard in. He got his motherboard, he brought it back in. We put the new motherboard in, put all the components in the way they were supposed to be. I turned it on. Same thing. Fans power on. The LEDs come on. Except it doesn't turn off after 5 seconds. It just stays on. But there's no video, no nothing else. Well, let's see if you guys in the chat room can guess what the problem was. From all the information I told you, if you were listening, what do you think the problem was with that computer? If I had the Jeopardy theme music, I'd play it right now. And I got to wait a little bit longer because there's a lag. So it's probably like, after I said this, I got to wait like 10 seconds till you guys actually hear it. And then you tell me what do you think it is. Guys in the chat room, what do you think the problem was on this? I'll tell you if you're right or not. Somebody said they had their TV on. Sorry. The symptoms again. I can't. I told you already. I can't go through it again. Anybody? Now I know you guys in the chat room just like talking to yourselves. You don't even listen to me. You guys don't even need me anymore. Mike, you're right. Mike said power supply or CPU. It is the CPU. It was the CPU. I replaced the processor with another Sempron. Went out and bought another Sempron, threw it in there, and it actually powered on. So that means his motherboard and processor were both bad because we replaced the processor before the new motherboard, and it happened. And then we replaced the processor after the new motherboard, and it fixed it. So, or we replaced the processor with the old motherboard, still the same problem, turn off for 5 seconds, then the new symptoms, and then the processor fixes. So that was processor and motherboard. Don't usually see those two get taken out at the same time. I don't know what happened to his machine. Usually the power supply goes with the motherboard, but not usually the motherboard and processor and nothing else in the machine. So that was a little weird. Maybe he was doing some heavy-duty gaming. Yes, Tommy says a CPU. You are correct. Next computer, a Sony Vaio. These little Vaios from hell. They're these little computers with those little chiclet keys like the Macs have with the, like this thing. I'll put it in front of the camera. Like those keyboards. And, of course, I put that in front of the camera. My whole green screen went away. It's those little button keys like the MacBooks have. And they're really small, probably like over $1,000 for this little computer. And I don't like these computers. Here's what happened. It looked like somebody sat on it or something. The screen was cracked. All she wanted, because she was going to send it back to Sony, they were going to fix it. And Sony told her, we are not responsible for any of the data on your hard drive, so you're on your own for that. Well, what is she going to do? I mean, the computer doesn't power on. It's real flaky. Those hard drives don't just come out. It's not like you 2 screws and pop them out. I actually filmed this for the laptop repair videos. I'll get it up there. And she wanted her data off of the hard drive. That's what she wanted. So she gave it to us. I took the computer apart, and I checked the hard drive. And I had recently, because I had a similar VAIO, a very similar VAIO. I recently had a customer who had the same problem. He just wanted his data off the hard drive. These VAIOs use a 1.8-inch drive. It's like an iPod drive. I bought an adapter to convert one of those iPod drives, their 1.8-inch drive, to a USB. So I'm like, I'm set. I could do this job. I have the equipment. I opened it up. There's 2 different makes of these hard drives. One of them actually has like a female connector, and then there's like 20 or 30 pins, like a normal IDE hard drive, except reversed. The pins are on the cable, not on the drive. Or there's these hard drives that actually have ribbon cables. It's called a ZIF connector. And this was one that had a ribbon cable. I did not have a 1.8-inch ZIF connector cable to USB. This was on the weekend. She needed it by Monday. I told her we could do it. And now, what the hell am I going to do? I'm thinking. Well, lucky for me, and this guy's bailed me out a couple times. He's hooked me up a couple times. There's a store down the street that's an authorized Mac repair center. It's called Mac Sensei in the Drexel Line Shopping Center here in Pennsylvania, right outside of Philly. And I've been to him a couple times. He's fixed up some Mac warranty. He did some Mac warranty work because he's an authorized Mac repair place. So I'm thinking to myself, after I called 90 million people, I'm thinking to myself, okay, these are iPod hard drives. I wonder if this guy has one of those connectors. And I called him. I talked to some dopey guy who had no idea what he was talking about. I said, look, can I talk to Yukio? He's actually the owner is Yukio, named Yukio. Can I talk to Yukio? He said, he's busy right now. Can you call back? I said, call back. And I said, Yukio, do you have one of these connectors? He's like, oh, I don't think I have one of them. I got to look around. He's looking around. And I'm like, great. I'm like, this guy is my last hope, and he's not going to have it. And he gets back on the phone. He's like, hey, I actually do have one. So I ran down there, hooked it up to USB. The girl had 30 gigabytes to copy over. So I actually had to borrow it. Otherwise, I'd be sitting in the store for a couple hours. So it worked. Got the ZIF 1.8-inch ZIF connector hard drive to USB. They make them, and he had one. So you can buy them on eBay, too. That's what did it. Pulled the data off of that Sony VAIO drive. So, I think that he might have been one of the only people in a 100-mile radius that had one of those things when I think about it. So it's good to be in a somewhat heavy populated area. And it's good to work on laptops. I'm one of the people that if somebody called me up and said, can you pull the data